What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to the discussion video. Today we're taking a look at how the Steam Deck has no legitimate shot at outselling the Nintendo Switch or maybe even the Nintendo Switch OLED at the beginning. However, I think that it's actually going to be a benefit to Nintendo and the Switch 2 or the next gen Switch in the long run and just the industry as a whole. But before we get into any of this, please make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe for new gaming videos and live streams, and also make sure you hit that notification bell to get our videos first. Now let's go ahead and talk about this because there has been a lot of discussion between the core of the hardcore gaming fans out there that are saying the Steam Deck is going to run over the Nintendo Switch. It's so much better in every single aspect. It's going to do way better. But unfortunately, these people lack the economic sense to back up what they're saying. Don't get me wrong. All of the cool stuff with the Steam Deck is there when it comes to the SSD, when it comes to the AMD chip in there, the power, the price. It seems like it's all lining up to do fairly well. Unfortunately for Valve and for the people that are saying this or thinking this, it has no legitimate shot at actually doing that. And the reason why it doesn't is a simple economics matter. Valve probably can't produce as many of these, and these aren't sold in as many places. You only have it through the Valve portal or a website, right? That's the only place that you can get these. So just from a business perspective, you look at what the Nintendo Switch and Switch OLED is doing. Those are sold in various different places, on Amazon, at Target, at Best Buy, at Walmart, at just various different places all over the place, all over the world, compared to what Valve is doing at their one place. So from an economic standpoint, it's almost impossible for Valve to outsell the Nintendo Switch in any shape of way or form. And even with the Nintendo Switch OLED, that system has been going in and out of stock. When it comes to it, they're just constantly refreshing it because Nintendo is making a bunch of these, because the SoC is not changed. It's not a completely different production line with all sorts of different things that are changed on the internals. It's still the same SoC. A lot of the system is intact. It just adds the new dock and a few different things here and there, along with the OLED screen, double the memory and everything, but everything is pretty much intact. So Nintendo is going to be able to produce a lot of these systems, and people are going to be able to pre-order and buy a lot of these systems. Nobody has had to worry about a scalped Switch OLED at all. And if you're buying one, that's stupid because they're available in and out of stock. The white one is harder to find than the neon, but it's still there, right? If you really want one. So that's the situation that's going on right now. So if anybody says that it's going to outsell it or crush it in sales or it's going to do so much better anytime soon, that's just not the case. Valve is backed up all the way to 2022 when it comes to pre-orders and people even getting their Steam Decks. Some people will get them in December. Others are going to get them early next year. Others are going to get them mid next year and probably all the way till the end. So they're not going to be producing a lot of these at a vast scale to actually compete with Nintendo, let alone Microsoft or Sony, which is having their own stock issues but are being sold all over the place just like the Nintendo Switch is. However, I do think that this is a very good start for the industry. Somebody else, a major player, has decided that, hey, wait a minute, it's not all about just a big box that just sits right there. We can do this hybrid thing. Yes, you have an LCD screen. Yes, it's a 720p screen. Like, we understand that. However, the ability to be able to play anywhere in that type of quality is something that people really like, and you can still dock it and get some benefits of the normal home console. It is a hybrid in a sense. It's definitely that. Heck, it's a PC in its own right. So they saw that, and what does that say? It might say that the future is not a big box that just sits right there on your desk, and that it is a hybrid, because Valve tried the whole box right there, the Steam box, right? They tried that like PlayStation and Xbox, and they failed. Yes, there was other factors that factored into those things failing, but the Steam Deck, to me, kind of complements what Valve already does when it comes to having the whole PC market on clamps for the most part, right? It just complements all that. On top of it, there's workarounds to where you can get pretty much anything going on there when it comes to it and overall. So I think Valve is definitely in the right direction, and I think that a major player like Valve stepping in and making hardware like the Nintendo Switch shows that Nintendo was right about what they did. And I also talked about this a while ago, saying that if they're successful, this was like back in 2017, you're going to see other people copy them. You're going to see major players get into the game if this is very successful, because it's like a cell phone, right? A cell phone, it's, you know, something to where at the beginning, at least the beginning of cell phones, it wasn't as good as a landline, but you can take it anywhere that you want it, right? And that portability factor was amazing, and it continuously got reinvented and reinvented and redone. Now at this point, now most people don't even have landlines and go with cell phones. So I do think that maybe one of these days it gets to that point, but this is definitely one of the starts with it. But another thing why this makes this really good for Nintendo as well is that it puts the thought process out there that, yeah, you don't need to have the blazing edge graphics on certain things. You can have it to where you can just have a great experience anywhere that you want, and then come back and play and do what you need to do as well. And if you look at it here, guys, you look at the graphics that they're using for this, and you look at what it's running with, and kind of how Valve had to cut costs here and there with the LCD screen, with the 720p and all that, you kind of look and say, okay, yeah, so now we see why Nintendo makes some of the decisions. Obviously, there's still some things they can do better with the system when it comes to features and stuff like that, and the power, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But at the end of the day, you kind of see where Valve had to make some cuts, because it's not easy making a true hybrid. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers and then get it done and then make it affordable and then also make it to where it's actually a good business proposition. But let's talk about how this is going to affect Nintendo in the future. I think Nintendo looks at this Steam Deck. I don't think they're in direct competition. They're both going to coincide just fine. Whenever they do come out, it's going to be okay. But I think that Nintendo and Tegra can definitely look at this and say, okay, well, let's look at our Nintendo Switch 2, because we don't know, or probably not going to see some type of super powerful Switch Pro before we get the Switch 2. Now, it's possible, you never know right at this point, but Nintendo stated at this point, hey, it's not happening, but you never know with it. But even if they did release another more powerful system than the regular Switch, I don't think it would be like, it's a revision here, guys. I don't think it would be a super crazy powerful system. I think it'd be like a new Nintendo 3DS situation, to where it's a bit stronger, can play some things, maybe it plays some exclusives here and there, but it's not going to be anything crazy, and it's going to be something that's just kind of a buffer between what they do next. And I feel that that's what's going to happen. But Nvidia and Nintendo can look at this system now that it's coming out 2021, right? There's only one type of model. There's not a stronger model that has like a better chip in it. It's one model across the three for the Steam Deck. They can look at that and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and one up them even more, and have the huge back catalog, of course, of Nintendo Switch games that are already acclaimed, and people love those, and people still buy those, right? They buy them for long periods of time, and then they can also make their updated Nintendo Switch 2 games as well, along with probably getting more third-party support with a modern chip and what Tegra is going to do. I always said this, that the Nintendo Switch came at a very opportune time, because that Tegra X1 chip, that was 2015. Nintendo was already planning what they were going to do, and there wasn't a chip that could do what they wanted to do with this system. The K1 wasn't going to be strong enough. We saw the leaks in terms of what Nintendo was trying. That was going to be a projection in 480p, so they weren't really sure what was going on. But here comes this Tegra X1 chip in 2015, and they say, okay, this is it. It was a super chip at the time. You guys have seen the broadcast with the Nvidia CEO holding up that chip and everything like that, right? So at the time, it was a super powerful chip, and obviously not at this point. It's getting a little bit older, but at the same time, they can take that in terms of what they're doing with the newest end of chips and what they're doing, and get one that's going to be affordable for them, and get one that's going to be able to support some of the more modern features and other things, and put that in there. And with Nintendo and Nvidia on the case, I feel they can make an affordable Nintendo Switch 2 that's going to be underneath the $400 of the Steam Deck. They can make one, if they're confident, at $350. I think they can also make one in the next couple years at $299. They got that Tegra X1, and they got the Nintendo Switch at $299 with the Joy-Cons in there and everything, with all the added costs and everything like that. So the fact that they were able to do that definitely tells me they can get the system, the next Switch, with a better chip, a way better chip, and also with better better features and functionality and get that at the $350 to $299 mark. So I think that overall it's a good thing. Nintendo's probably looking at it and saying, okay, yeah, here's what we're going to do with this Tegra chip, because Tegra and Nvidia, they're the ones who are kind of pioneering with these mobile super chips and everything like that. They've done a phenomenal job with them. And of course, you also have to think about the ARM processor in terms of the company that Nvidia bought that was not too long ago as well. So that's going to play a factor into things too. So there is a lot to unpack, but at the same time, I think that it's a benefit to everyone involved. The industry gets another major piece of hardware in that has the credibility to do well at this point. Not going to do extremely well in comparison to the other companies, but it's Valve and they're trying again. But it also puts the thought process out there that, yeah, the hybrid way is a way to go, because Valve didn't copy the PlayStation and Xbox. They copied Nintendo here. They could have easily made an actual Steam console. Don't let other third-party manufacturers make all different types of Steam boxes and all that. Just do it yourself, one console, here we go. And they probably could have made that for a good price and put that out there, but they didn't. They didn't do that. Despite the success of the PlayStation and Xbox, they said, we're going to copy Nintendo. So that tells you a lot of things. And once again, that's a benefit, in my opinion, to what Nintendo's going to do when it comes to the next generation Nintendo Switch. So I think it's a win-win for everybody involved. And if you want one, you can pick one up. If you want to get a Switch, you pick one up. And heck, I think there might be even people who are hardcore PC guys out there that get the Steam Deck and say, okay, well, maybe I want to check out Nintendo's Switch as well and what they offer with the Switch Lite or something else. Maybe handheld gaming just becomes a lot more popular in the ecosphere, or like the thought process of people out there. And I think that's what the benefit is, because this was a hard sell for some. For a lot of these console players and these PC guys, why would you want to play portable? We want the best resolution, we want the best graphics, we want the best this and that. And now it seems like people are saying, oh, well, it's 720p, but it's my Steam library and I can play it. So that thought process has slowly faded as the Switch has gotten more and more and more popular, and more people have tried out the system, have their quirks here and there, but have tried out the system and said, okay, this is actually pretty good. It can be a companion piece to what you already got, or it could be something that you just play normally because you don't have the time. So I think that this is going to be a good thing going forward. So what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.